Live test, 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 test. So hello, so here I am once again, and I'm trying to do this video from, let me change it, maybe here it's better, it's a bit, because I'm a tall person. So that's what I want to do. One more video. I'm sick of doing so many videos, but let's do one more video, okay? This is about something that someone has requested on one of my channels, was a comment or something, and then I talk a lot about religion, but usually my problem about talking about religions, because I talk most about the most polemic religion, the one everybody talks about, which is Judaism, okay? The Jewish religion. The issue about me talking about the Jewish religion is that I have a lot of clients. They are Jewish and they owe me money. So I am on the European people complaining that I have Jewish clients owing me payments, okay? And then now I'm doing a video explaining their religion, and I'm doing this for free, or maybe on a credit. Maybe at some point they will pay for the service that I'm doing, because this is called cross-cultural, okay? Jewish religions all over the place. Everybody talks about it. It's like there's lots of questionings, and I have a very large experience of the community, so I can talk about it properly, okay? But again, the normal is that I would be receiving a payment to do this, but I'm not, okay? So anyway, I am European, okay? So my point of view is European. So I'm going to talk about this as an European. So this means that if you are Jewish and you're listening to this, you need to ask for someone who understands European English to translate to you, instead of spreading comments and complaining and blah 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 as if I were Jewish, but I am not Jewish, okay? So that's why it's super tricky to talk about the Jewish religion, because Jewish people, they believe I am Jewish, the same way Europeans, they believe everybody's European, the same way indigenous people, they believe everybody's indigenous, okay? That's normal. I'm used to see the world on one aspect, so then I believe everybody's understanding the way I am, but that people are different, okay? People think different, people look different, people have different situations, people are different, okay? So what happens, okay? Number one, what's to be European? Number one, European as a people, okay? European, we have about 7,000 years of history on planet Earth. We all come from the same monkeys millions of years ago, but then there's like these different groups. So when we say European, we're talking about people that come from the continent of Europe. And that's a kind of people that have been originated in a process of 7,000 years. People associates Europeans with white people with blue eyes, blonde hair, red hair. That's one of the varieties of European people. I am on the darker version of Europeans, but I do have traits of very Nordic Europeans. For example, my height, I am 6'5", so that comes from my European ancestors from the way north, okay? I do have some red hair on my beard, and my family is half blonde and blue eyes and half dark like me. So everybody who is European understands that it's very common between Europeans when you have a mix of blonde hair and brown hair. Usually the kids, they have brown hair, so it's not a big of a deal of explaining if I'm European or not when I am in an all-European environment, okay? Yes, there is issues, yes, when there is Jewish people in the environment. So if there is someone Jewish in the community, and we're discussing this, what I just said, the Jewish person is going to start a long conversation explaining that you need to be white or blue eyes or this to be European, not European, okay? So that's cross culture, okay? I am talking as an European, okay? So big differences. European, number one, we are altruistic and patriarchal. What does that mean? Most European people, we believe that generosity is something good, it's something positive, not something negative. We believe it's good. So to share is to care. Your problem is my problem. That's very European, okay? Jewish people, they do not believe on that. They believe that individualism is something positive. They believe to be that you're born alone and you die alone. That's a Jewish say. Europeans, we don't believe on that. Okay, so those are differences. Europeans, we consider altruism as generosity. Jewish people consider altruism as stupid. Uh, Europeans, we consider individualism as selfish. Jewish people consider individualism as smart. There is something good with that, there's something bad with that. No, the issue is about the common law, because then we have common law. What are the common law? Le leggi comunali in Italian, okay? The common law that they work for everyone. What's the easiest law in the planet to understand? Traffic, okay? When you're driving, there's only one common law for everyone. You drive on the right, you drive on the left, there's a red line, you stop your car, that's simple, okay? But that applies to every possible law in the planet. So when you have different people combined in the same community, then you have the common laws that they work for everyone, okay? Then it goes about stealing, okay, this person steal, did not steal, and about how jurisdiction work. And that's why we have also different law. You have the Roman law, which is for Europeans, and you have the Torah or the Talmud law for Jewish people. Why? Because they're different people. You cannot apply Roman law to Jewish people the same way you cannot apply Talmud law to European people. Okay? You have cases of the Argentinian fiasco, for example. Argentina is a case of study because it's a country where there's a massive amount of Jewish people. It's about 15 million Jewish people in Argentina, but the laws they have on the paper, they are Roman law. But the people who are in the practice, they're Jewish. How come they're Jewish, but then they have the common law? At the end, it does not work, because there are a lot of Jewish people that they do not understand the law because they're Roman, okay? Because they're different, okay? But that's the lack of infrastructure, the lack of common law that you do have in other parts of the planet, okay? So those are differences, okay? When it comes to, as I mentioned, so what you say, what you mean is that Jewish people consider that people who are generous is stupid. It's not that simple. We need to translate, okay? Well, when you are in an all-Jewish environment and there's only Jewish people, they will be generous to each other, but they require collaterals. That's when Jewish people say Europeans are stupid, because they say, oh, Europeans helping other people, but they do not have a collateral, they do not have a guarantee. They're just helping people around, and they believe, but why they're doing that if there's no guarantee? So they're not about the act of being generous, about not having a guarantee, okay? So at the first hand, they will consider it stupid, okay? Something else is that matriarchy, okay? Jewish people, they're matriarchal. So what does that mean? That's why usually by law, when you have a Jewish community, for example, our lawsuit, the L975, 18, L1002, it's against Facebook and Meta that we're waiting for Priscilla Sean to pay for our bail. It's been 6 years in the justice we have nowadays. Okay, what's the issue? The issue is that the US Congress keeps calling the boy. So Mark Zuckerberg is the guy that shows up, okay? But by law, on respect of the common law, the person who should be in charge is Priscilla Sean Zuckerberg, okay? Because it's a Jewish family. So it's kind of disrespectful that the US Congress calls the boy when the whole world knows that Priscilla Sean Zuckerberg is the boss, okay? The same there in Israel. We know it's Sarah Netmandu, the boss of the white people, keep talking to Netmandu, the boy, okay? The president of Argentina, the whole world knows it's Karina Milei. They are Jewish. Like, why the world keep insisting on the boy? And then they got Milei said that. I know, but that's the Jewish family. That's not how it works. The decision maker is the matriarchal who is working, and it's not necessarily behind the scenes. In the case of Argentina, Javier Milei, the president of the country, he does say that in public. He says, look, it's Karina Milei, the boss. He said, she's the boss. But then people keep talking to him. But then it's need of what I do is cross-culture, common law, and to translate. For example, as I am an European, every time I talked about Jewish people to my European friends, for example, I mention them as my clients. Why? Because I am translating the relationship I have with my Jewish relatives or Jewish friends to my European friends. Because if I tell them it's my friend, they would not understand the message. That's why, because I am translating. So when I talk to Europeans about someone, I said, oh, but it's my client. But if I am among Jews and I say, no, he's my friend. They're saying, so there is needs of really, there's a lot of cross culture. It's not that simple. I mean, the Jewish and European conflicts, they have over 2,000 years. The issue is more on the European side. Why? Because Europeans, that's part of the fact about being European is that we are popular, okay? So that's what it is. So we need to handle popularity. When you are European, you need to handle popularity because European people want to know who you are, what you're doing, what you're talking about, what's okay. So it's very common. I don't know if it's a decision of God or what, but if you're European, it means you're very likely going to be popular. So we have all this demand. And that's why sometimes people say that Europeans are cold or something. The thing is that sometimes you need to just stay away because you have a lot of popularity, okay? And that's it. That's about it, okay? But then when you go to conflicts, we are also popular among Jewish people. We are also popular about. So Jewish people, they get very obsessed with our height. They get obsessed with people who have blue eyes and things like that. So they're really obsessed with that. They even created the Ashkenazis, which is the white-looking part of the Jewish population, which is something that there's a lot of confusion, and that's why they even go into this endless confusions, explain why or not why if you Jewish, do you understand? So with the popularity, we need to do cross culture with people with all sorts, not only Jewish people. I'm just talking Jewish also because the three most important and most popular religions in the entire planet is Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And so that's why usually we talk about Islam is quite pretty easy to understand. They have their issues there, the domination, the very ugly relationship with women and single women, the violence. So it can even talk about Islam pretty short, okay? Jewish is a bit more complicated. It requires a way more talk, but also why? Because Judaism is matriarchal. It's a feminine religion, so it's woman's world. As a man and as an European or even as a Muslim or as a Buddhist, which are patriarchal religions, is very hard. That's also one of the reasons why it's so complicated, why it's been maybe 2,000 years that Europeans and Jewish people are trying to hang out and never come out to any conclusion, okay? Because it's like men and women fighting, okay? Because the issue is every time I go into the Jewish community, for example, there is issues. Because I'm a salesman, so usually I integrate with the Jewish community trying to do some business, which is the connection number one we have, which is business. And then Europeans and Jews, okay? And then once they're there at the end, I'm part of the Jewish family, and then there's a Jewish matriarchal who wants to have a relationship with me, but she's married, she has someone, and then I'm in the mess. That happens a lot of times. European men try to do business with Jewish people, okay? Because again, that's a talk for another video. I'll talk just about that. But those are the guidelines, okay? Judaism, matriarchal, individualistic, everything's false until prove it's truth. European, everything is real is until prove it's false. Patriarchal, altruistic, these are main guidelines, okay? And Islam has more things in common with European. And then it's come, why are you using the term European instead of using the term Christian, Catholic? Because those are subdivisions. And then it comes about what religions are more popular among European people. It's Christianity, the number one. Why? Because Christianity preaches what I just said, altruistic, patriarchal. We see Christianity as an evolution with all the pagan religions, because Europeans had several different religions. That's how we connect a lot with Native Americans as well, because they have all this similar. We used to praise the sun. That's very interesting. Why Europeans? Why we celebrate Sundays, not Saturdays, as Jewish people and Muslims do? Why? Because that's a cross between Christianity, because Christianity also comes from the Middle East, from Jerusalem, with Sabbath. The Saturday would be the serious day for prayers, but then we adapted to Sunday, because Sunday is the day of the sun, that we praise the sun. So that comes from European culture, okay? And all of that, there's a lot of commonalities. So usually Europeans, we kind of are curious with a lot of other religions. We integrate a bit, a lot superficially with a lot of religions, but we keep that domain, okay? And when it comes to the cross, most European nations do have the cross on the flags. So we are Christian. We believe in Christianity, and a lot of Europeans even believe that Jesus Christ was European. Okay, and then it comes to why. Okay, well, about the facts about being European, there is the thing about the light skin. That's about, you know, that's about, it's related to the capacity of absorbing more sun. They say that even blonde hair or blue eyes is even more adapted to super cold weathers. The size, that's why we're taller, and that's why we need to sing about growing big, because that will help us to face the winter. If you're bigger, you have better chances to survive winter, okay? Bigger hands, bigger feet, because that it's more blood, so you won't freeze, okay? That's one of the aspects of European people. And then when it comes to religion, which is this paranormal, ecological, out of no concrete, there is a story about the pineal glands. There is lots of studies that usually not only Europeans but also Nordic Asians, people, not mammals, not only humans but also animals like the polar bear and all that, that they come from colder areas, have a bigger and the pineal gland, which is a third eye, because we have two eyes and then the third eye, three eyes are interconnected, and that's our senses. So yes, Europeans have a larger, so that's why usually when I'm among Europeans, the conversations are very quick, because we kind of read each other's thoughts. And sometimes when you're dealing with other people, so they have smaller pineal glands, or they have it calcified, usually drugs, they calcify. I believe cocaine calcifies your pineal gland. There is even an English expression that says the lights are on, but there's no one home, or things like that, which means that we're talking to just an object sometimes we feel, because there's no third eye, okay? That usually that's a bit boring, okay? For example, right now I am working in the Jewish community in Argentina, for example. I'm surrounded by Jews, and it is a bit boring on a European point of view, because it's very grounded, it's very bidimensional, it's very commercial, but that's a religion, that's a people that are like that, you know. And my issue is not about their faith. My issue is how they judge me as a minority, as part of an European minority in Argentina. That's my issue, the common law, and why the opposite does not happen, because Jewish people as a minority surrounded by Europeans, usually they live very well, they live as kings, okay? The opposite way around, which is being an European minority surrounded by Jews here in Argentina, for example, it's not the same way. Usually I feel a bit like I'm crucified in the cross all the time. And as a salesman that I have to talk to people, I need to sell people. It's all the time, attacks, they'll just crucify me as they did to Jesus Christ in the cross. They'll be calling an imposter, a liar, crazy, whatever. And then at some point I just, no, I'm just selling this object and it costs something. And if you pay, you get it tomorrow. That's it. But they get triggered because I'm not part of a minority down here, so then they get triggered and they're curious, and it's also a very isolated Jewish community. It's pretty different than Jewish people in Miami or Israel or Milan or London, where the people that are integrated because they're international, they're traveling. But Jewish people in Argentina, they live kind of in a remote area, so they're not really that integrated. Okay, so well, this is the first video about religion, and then I'll continue to talk about it in different videos. And I'm doing this live for technical issues. I think it's easier to do it live instead of recording and posting later, and but all right, so Augustin here, stay tuned. All right, so lots of topics on my channel, a lot of topics. Okay, all right, cheers. And this is my jungle here in South America. I'm recording this from South America. All right, cheers.